And today I am going to talk about something that has bothered me the past few days. And hold on, give me 1 second. Let me make sure my Twitch is not interfering with what I'm saying. Okay, it's not good. All right. So basically, as you can tell from the premise of this video, from the title, that I think Pat McAfee took the highest of cocaine from Jim Irsay. Because, let me give a little bit of backstory. As those of you that follow football and have followed the Johnathan Taylor situation, as you guys probably already know, JT requested a trade, and the Colts were like, all right, cool, go find whoever it is you want to trade with. See if you can find any trade partners. We'll see what the trade is. We'll try to accommodate you. And, they went through that process, and basically the two teams that ended up being the closest to even getting Johnathan Taylor were, one, the Miami Dolphins, and two, the Green Bay Packers. So I think earlier this week, Pat McAfee made a video on how the Colts' demands for Johnathan Taylor were not that wild of a request. Basically what the Colts decided to ask for in return for Taylor, when it came to Miami at least, was Jaylen Waddle. I'm going to repeat that. Jaylen Waddle. They wanted Jaylen Waddle. Not only did they want Jaylen Waddle, they wanted more. They wanted Jaylen Waddle and more in return for Johnathan Taylor. Literally anyone with half a brain cell, anyone that follows football that has even half of a brain cell, realize that is a horrible trade. Miami would never do that. We as regular fans would never do that. Why the fuck would Miami do that? But the only person that did not really see it that way was this schmuck Pat McAfee himself. Because, oh my god, bruh, okay. When he first made his initial video on Johnathan Taylor, which I believe was on Monday or Tuesday, if anyone wants to correct me, by all means, correct me. When he first made that video, it was basically him saying, oh yeah, the Colts, they were well within their rights to ask for what they asked for. Asking for the Dolphins' number 2 receiver isn't a wild request or anything like that. And, because asking for number 2 for number 1 running back that was an MVP candidate 2 years ago was not that wild of a request. Ignoring the fact that, running backs, the value running backs are so far down the drain that the only running back that I can see that would even get a first-round pick in return is Bijan Robinson. And that's literally because he hasn't even been used. He hasn't played one single NFL game. So, yeah, maybe you could get a first-round pick for Bijan Robinson. That is literally the only running back. Christian McCaffrey, when they traded for him, when San Fran traded for him, I believe they got a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. They did not get anybody else. Or they did not get a first-round pick for Christian McCaffrey. Arguably one of the best, if not the best running back in the league. And even he couldn't net a first-round pick. So I don't know why the Colts thought that Johnathan Taylor was going to net them a first. Not only that, they asked for more than a first and something else. And in Miami's case, they wanted Waddle and, something else. They didn't specify what it was. Some people say it was like, oh yeah, they wanted Wilkins and other things. Maybe Waddle for Johnathan Taylor, and I'm like, bruh, no. So the first video that he did basically defended the Colts. Basically, he rode the nuts of Jim Irsay so hard that I would have thought he worked in the adult industry. Because holy crap, was this dude shilling for the Colts so hard? This was unfucking believable, guys. Unfucking believable. Because if I'll see if I can have a link to the video or something in this Twitch stream or something for the first video if I can, or if not, I can do it later. But bruh, this so he made that video. Fine, he defended the Colts. He was like, oh yeah, they're well within their rights to ask for what they asked for. And people, pretty much all of Dolphins Twitter and all of the Dolphins fanhood roasted him for it, be like, Miami would never do that, and rightfully so, because you would never do that. So fast forward a couple days later, not only does he make another video talking about the Johnathan Taylor situation after, the Colts decided not to trade him and put him on the PUP, which is essentially he can't play for the first 4 games because of his ankle issue. So after, and after their whole deadline, like, oh yeah, we're going to trade him. We're going to have a decision by Tuesday. And, if he's not trade, if we don't find a trade, we're going to put him on the PUP and we're not going to trade him. Fine. Okay, whatever. So fast forward a couple days after that, not only does he decide to talk about the Johnathan Taylor situation again, he decides to double down on it. Like, bruh, how are you doubling down on such a terrible ass take? Like, this dude was shilling even harder than before. You know what? I'm just gonna play the video. I apologize. I'm probably gonna pause a lot to talk about his points, but like, holy shit! Like, is this dude like? How can one man be on the wrong side of like everything? Usually Pat McAfee is like for the players. He's like. He's like someone who says the players should get their money, should get what they want, all of that jazz. In this case, though, he turned into a corporate lackey. He basically sucked the Colts' dick so hard that even the best porn stars would be like amazed at like all the dick sucking he was doing. Because holy shit, was this just like. All right, you know what? Enough talking. I've talked enough. I'm gonna play the video, and like I said, I apologize. I'm gonna pause a lot, and I'm gonna pause, and I'm gonna talk about the points that he's trying to make, and then you guys tell me if this dude's on drugs, if he's snorting the highest of cocaine from Jim Irsay, because normally people don't double down on such a terrible take. This man decided to double down on a horrible ass take, but. Screw it. I'm going to play the video. You decide for yourself.
Let's talk about something that I won't miss when it's not a thing. Mm-hmm. Okay? This Johnathan Taylor Indianapolis Colts situation is continuing.
Yeah, I'm sure you won't miss it because you're happy that he's on your team and not traded, but whatever.
Continuing to brew, isn't it? And now that Johnathan Taylor has been placed on the PUP, he'll be missing the first 4 weeks of the season anyways. Okay? Remember, the PUP is for those who are...
Also, another point I want to make is I don't think the Colts are going to trade Johnathan Taylor anyway, but I could definitely see someone like Jim Irsay being like, you know what? I'm going to put you on the PUP, and then I'm going to trade you. That way, sure, you'll be on another team. You may even get your money, but you're not playing for those next 4 games. I don't know if JT would be able to. I don't know how bad his ankle injury is, if it even is bad, or if it's just him BSing about it as like a leverage play. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Colts did some bullshit like that because it's the Colts and Jim Irsay is a complete moron. And Chris Ballard has essentially no power to do anything because, Irsay's a moron. At least Jerry Jones has some football knowledge. I mean, Irsay is just god-awful at what he does. But whatever, I'm just going to play the video.
Or physically unable to perform. And if you're put on that list, you get a certain amount of time you cannot participate, but then you're able to return to the team during the season. Yesterday, for the first time, I heard Chris Ballard, who's a pretty important part of this entire thing.
Sure, if he's allowed to do his fucking job, but whatever.
The general manager of the Colts said he thinks relationships are repairable.
Okay.
So he would have the most amount of information. Now, he had some sauce in that press conference.
Oh, yeah.
Sweet. Stephen Holt.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
Asked him, well, you just said like great players have their own market. Why won't you pay Johnathan Taylor? And Chris Ballard said, we won 4 games last year.
Well said.
Okay. First point I just want to make. Yes, you guys are terrible. The Colts only won 4 games. JT played 11 of those games. He was still arguably your best player. That man still nearly had 1,000 yards rushing. Or I think rushing and receiving. Total 1,000 scrimmage yards total in 11 games. That is very good production. Yes, you guys only won 4 games, but that wasn't because of JT. That was because Matt Ryan could not throw the ball more than 5 fucking yards. Like, your passing game was dog shit. Like, and also, here's the thing. Let's say, they had someone like, AJ Brown on their team, right? all-pro receiver, and let's say he put up the same numbers in Indy that he did in Philadelphia. But, just hypothetically, they still only won 4 games. If he asked for more money, what do you think the Colts would do? They would pay him. 0 questions asked, despite the fact that they only won 4 games. So by that logic itself is flawed, because no, you're not paying him because he only won 4 games. You are not paying him because he's a running back. At least be honest about it. And that's what bothers me, is that they're not even fucking honest about why they're not paying him. Just be like, you're a running back. Your value is dog shit. I'm not going to pay a running back, $12, $13, $14 million, even if he's 24 years old, because I can pay a running back like a quarter of that to approximate 75, 80% of that production. So why the fuck would I pay 12, 13, 14 million dollars for a running back, even someone as good as JT? At least be honest about it. Don't just be like, oh yeah, we only won 4 games, that's why you're not. Okay, if you only won 4 games, then none of those guys should get paid. But guess what? There's quite a few dudes on that team that are getting paid. Pretty sure Shaquille Leonard is getting paid a lot. I'm pretty sure DeForest Buckner, if he's still on the team, is he still on the team? I think he's still on the team. Hold on, I got to check this. I apologize, guys. Like, I don't want to spout some inaccurate stuff like the Colts here. Just want to make sure that let's see. Let me look at their depth chart quickly. Yeah, DeForest Buckner. Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, he is on the team. Yeah, those guys are getting paid, and they all were part of a team that won 4 games. So if that's the case, all of them motherfuckers should be getting a pay cut, not just JT, or not getting paid as much. But why are you singling out JT? No, you're not singling him out because he only won 4 games. You're singling him out because he's a running back. At least if you're gonna, talk shit about him, at least be honest about it. Be like, oh yeah, we're not paying him because of his position, not because we sucked as a team.
And then said nothing else. Here's actually that entire clip that I'm pretty pumped that we just pulled up that quickly. Here's Chris Ballard being asked about why he won't pay Johnathan Taylor.
Mm-hmm. The running market is what it is, but look, great player.
The GM admits it. The GM admits right off the bat that the running back market is terrible. Yes, that's all you had to say. The running back market sucks. That's it. Just say that. All you got to say.
They are too. So I think that all works. I think there's a
great player.
The hat is pretty nice, not gonna lie. I mean, could be better, but yeah.
Why not pay him?
We won 4 games last year. We won 4 games.
Okay, then do a pay cut of everyone else on your team, not just JT or everyone that's a free agent on your team. They should not have gotten as much money as they got last year. So.
Like he's talking to his kid.
Yeah.
Listen to this on the way out.
Y'all loaded them suckers up today, man.
Now, I don't think Chris is.
Which is ironic because Pat pretty much has been sucking the Colts' dick for like the past week or so. Like, I don't even know how he's able to talk with Jim Irsay's balls in his mouth, but it is pretty ironic that for the next 11 minutes he's going to proceed to do exactly that, dick sucking. So I don't know why the fuck he's laughing when you're about to do the same thing that Ballard accused the reporters of doing. But whatever.
Speaking to the media for a long time now. General managers are not required to speak to the media every single week. It's the coach that has to do that. Yeah. So Ballard knew he was going into one, and they asked him relentlessly about Johnathan Taylor. And there towards the end, you finally got a chance to hear the Indianapolis Colts' reason on why they're choosing not to renegotiate with a guy.
Also, sorry, and again, I apologize for pausing this, but like, the fact that he has a fucking smirk on his face, like, oh yeah, look at Indianapolis standing up against, the tyranny of the media and everyone else, sticking it to them, telling them, yeah, we're not paying them because we only won 4 games, and yeah, they're the shit for doing that. What are you smirking about? Your team is garbage. There's nothing to... What else are they going to talk about? Johnathan Taylor was the only thing your team can talk about. What? They're going to talk about Michael Pittman? What, they're going to talk about Alec Pierce? What are they going to talk about? Johnathan Taylor is the only person on that team that's even worth giving more than like 5 minutes to talk about. maybe, you know, some players on our defense like DeForest Buckner or Leonard. That is it. No one else gives a shit about the Colts, man. No one else. But the fact that he has a smirk, like, yeah, look, man, like, yeah, he really stuck it to them. Like, come on, bro. You cannot be more obvious about taking a company side than Pat is right now. But do you, boo-boo. You do you.
Who said 2 months before training camp started that he wants a brand new deal and to get paid, even though 3 months before training camp started, he said, I'm playing through the contract that I signed years ago. And you go,
okay, fine. This is one point where me and him will kind of see eye to eye. Sure, he probably should have, you know, asked for a pay raise 3 months ago when teams actually had the money to, you know, sign him or do a deal and then sign him. Sure. But 2 months is not some extravagant amount. Like, you still had 2 whole months. You had 8 weeks to, you know, negotiate something with JT and give him a proper contract. I mean, if you offered him a 2-year, $24 million contract with, like, the majority of that money guaranteed, I'm sure he would have signed. Or at least he would have been very close to signing him. But Irsay didn't even offer him a contract. He didn't offer him anything. Like, at the very least, offer the man something. Give him something, you know? Give him, like, you know, a contract just out of sheer courtesy. Like, this man's only been your best player for, like, the past 2-3 years. Like, it wouldn't kill you to be like, hey, man, here's, like, a 1-year, $10 million deal or some shit like that. Like, it wouldn't have hurt you, man. Easily could have offered a contract. But Irsay didn't even do that. So, like, I'm sure... And JT looked at the running back market, and he was probably like, yeah, nobody's getting paid. I'm 24. My value is only going to go lower and lower the more I play. I need to get my money now before I'm like 27, 28 out of a contract and getting like maybe half of what I'm asking for, if I'm lucky. So yeah, he was well within his rights to ask for more money. Just because he said 3 months ago, yeah, I'm going to play through my contract, and then a month later he's like, no, I want to get paid. People change their minds, Pat. It happens. You won't change your mind about this, but I'm sure if you look back at this like a month or two from now, you'll probably be like, yeah, I was in the wrong. I should not have said what I said. You would probably change your mind about what it is you're saying now, a month from now. So yeah, it can happen. People change their minds all the time. That is life. But you are holding it against them because he wants more money in playing a position that has very little value. Like, I don't, like, bruh. Normally, Pat is someone who's on the player side. And I do like his takes a lot of time. But I had to talk about this because I've never seen... This man did a greater heel turn than Hulk Hogan, man. Like, holy crap. Like, fucking, what's it? What's that, what's that Star Wars character name? Sidious? Yeah, God, I can't think of the dude's name. The guy who turns Anakin into Darth Vader. That guy. Like, obviously he was evil from the start, but like that heel turn at near the end of Star Wars, like in the first movie. Yeah, he basically ended up doing that. Basically, like, surprise, bitches. I'm actually a shill for the Indianapolis Colts. I'm their PR director. Like, come on, bro. This is whatever, man.
You got a new culture that has been started. Sounds like the Colts are saying, Johnathan, have a little bit of self-awareness here.
Yes. Yeah.
He's the only one in this equation that has any fucking self-awareness, bro. Literally the only person. He saw what the running back position was becoming. He's like, I want my money before my body breaks down and I can't get any more money. He was well within his rights to do so. He was the only one that saw the situation. So was like, yeah, I got to improve that situation. And here you are being like, oh, you got to have a little bit of... Bruh, how much cocaine did Irsay give you, man? How much cocaine? Were y'all doing the Scarface shit like Tony Montana and like snorting it? Like amount of it? Like, because I don't understand this take, bro. Normally he's like, yeah, the player needs to ask for the money. They need to get their bag, yada, yada, yada. He's done that for every player. But God forbid it's a player for a team that he used to play for, that he has a good relationship with the owner and with the GM. God forbid one of those players asks for a pay raise, he loses his fucking mind. Like, unbelievable, bro. Like, yes, JT was the only one that had any self-awareness. I can tell you who didn't have self-awareness, Jim fucking Irsay, because what kind of owner, literally when the situation, when the running back situation started becoming more and more of a thing, one of the first things he said was, when I die, no one's going to care about me when I die, and no one's going to care about JT when he leaves the NFL. The NFL is going to keep going. It's like, yeah, we know that. That's obvious. No one gives a shit about you, Irsay. Also, JT will care about until he retires, and even then we'll probably respect him if, he's the Hall of Fame, if he gets to do the Hall of Fame things that we've seen him do in the past couple of years. But yeah, even then, like, after a while, we probably would forget him. Like 15, 20 years from down the road, people will probably barely know who JT was. Yes, that is accurate. But you are tanking your running back's value. Anyone that wants to trade for him is going to go into a trade being like, okay, the owner clearly does not value the running back. But here's the thing. And then you ask for a first round. You not only unilaterally tank your star player, your star running back's value, you decide to ask for the moon. That right there shows no self-awareness. You're basically wanting your cake, you're like making or having your cake and eating it too. I don't know the saying, I'm sorry, but it's essentially that. They don't want to pay him, above market value, but they want above market value for him, which is incredibly stupid. And Pat here is like, yeah, you gotta have some self-awareness, bro. You can't be doing that. Like, it's not like he asked like literally a week before training camp. He gave y'all 2 months before training camp started to iron out a contract. And then when you guys refused to even give him a contract, he's like, screw it, trade me. Since you're not gonna pay me, trade me. Let me go. The only person in this equation that had any self-awareness was Johnathan Taylor. Period. He had every right to ask for a trade because y'all won't pay him. Y'all won't offer him contract. And like you won't. And now, by the looks of things, you guys are. When I say you guys, the Colts, we're never gonna let him go. Never gonna let him go. They just wanted to give the impression that, oh yeah, see, we tried to trade you, but no one would ask. No one would give us our price. Yeah, of course, no one's gonna give you a price if you're asking for the moon. If I have to give up an arm and a leg to get you. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? Especially for a position that's not nearly as valued like running back is. Or like a position like running back that's not nearly as valued as it used to be like 15, 20 years ago. So why? So here's the only one that showed self-awareness, Pat. Maybe if you had some self-awareness, you probably would have never talked about the situation again after Dolphins, all of Dolphins Kingdom, fucking roasted you, man. Like, holy shit. Like, the fact that he doubled down on this is wild to me. Like, you wanted to speak your piece. You wanted to show for the Colts the first time. Great, fine. But you're doubling down on it and, like, trying to defend Irsay and Ballard of all people. Like, Irsay is probably top 5 one of the worst owners in the NFL. And you are... Yes, I get it. You played for the Colts for a few years. You probably had a great relationship with Irsay. He probably helped you out setting up your whole media empire thing. I'm sure that probably happened. But my God, bro, like, this is the dumbest take you've probably had, and I'm pretty sure you've had quite a few of them. But even then, there's at least been some logic behind those takes. But whatever, man. Keep talking, bro.
Please. Okay, you had a bad year last year. You were hurt. Okay, you're still hurt, are you? Which might affect why people don't want to.
He had almost 1,000 scrimmage yards. Hold on, I'm gonna pull the stats up, guys. I'm gonna pull the stats up. Y'all tell me if this is a bad year. Y'all tell me. Hold on. Let me go to his stats. Those are his stats. Whoops. Whatever. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna just read it to you. He had almost 200 carries, ran for 861 yards for a 4.5 yards per carry. Behind one of the worst offenses. Yes, it wasn't his MVP year. Also, probably because he didn't get the ball nearly as much as he did that MVP year. But 4.5 yards a carry is very good for a running back. It's still very good. He only had 4 touchdowns. But again, that offense was terrible. Like, oh my God. Yes, and his receptions weren't nearly as much as they were, his MVP year and even his rookie year. Still, that's not bad. And also, more so because he only played 11 games. If he played all 17, I'm sure it would have been up to like 200, closer to, what his rookie year was. I'm sure that would have been the case. He had almost 1,000 scrimmage yards playing 11 games. Like that's like what, 80 scrimmage yards a game, 80, 85. I can't do the math off the top of my head, but my God, bro, like you made it sound like he got like a third of that production that he had as and when I say MVP year, I mean MVP caliber. I know he didn't win MVP that year, but MVP caliber production. So, bro, he did not have a bad year. Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Like, come on, man.
Trade for you, even though we heard there was a lot of interest, even though Dolphins came out and said there was no offer. We made no offer. So what?
No, I can tell you what happened. You want to know what happened? Dolphins probably called the Colts and was like, hey, man, I see JT requested a trade and we're interested. What would it take, to get him? And the Colts were probably like, yeah, we want a first, or if not a first, we want Watt. Click. No. Nobody trading a first for running back. Also, they're not trading Waddle for Taylor. And I'm going to explain why a little bit later on, why they're not going to do that for multiple reasons. But I'll let him, shit on Waddle for God knows whatever reason, man. I don't know what Waddle did to this dude, but bruh.
Was the actual interest? Will we ever know? Probably not. But Johnathan Taylor coming off his worst year, we're picking number 4 overall. I appreciate the fact that Chris Ballard has given some answers at least. Because with some of these responses, we can catch why the Colts are doing what they're doing. But the response of him saying it's repairable, I think, is the biggest one in this. Because they...
Spoiler alert, it's not repairable, bro. It's not repairable at all. You literally shot on your running back. You won't pay him. And then when you don't pay him, you won't even trade him and let him do his thing somewhere else. You won't pay him, you won't trade him. So what is it? You can't tell me the relationship is salvageable when you did nothing in your power to make him feel wanted. Why would he stay in a place where he's not wanted? Oh, also, by the way, free agents that want to look at prospective teams to play for is going to look at what Indianapolis is doing to Johnathan Taylor and not want to sign with them, Pat. I want you to tell that to Irsay when you're riding his nuts. No one's going to want to sign with Indianapolis. If they do this to their best player in JT, what the hell do you think they're going to do to a free agent that their only tie to them is just the money that they paid or that they are going to pay? Yeah, free agents aren't going to want to... They already don't want to sign... Who the fuck wants to play in Indy, man? There's no... At least in Miami, you have the sun, you have the nightlife. There's so much things to do in Florida and in Miami in particular. Even in... I would say Green Bay has a lot to do, but I've never been to Wisconsin, so I can't say. But shit, I think, they have Milwaukee, so... Even then, Milwaukee, there's a lot to do there from what I've heard from my cousins. But regardless, there is nothing about Indianapolis that teams or players are going to want to be like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to play that for that franchise. It used to be when you had Peyton Manning, who was a Hall of Fame talent, sure, players would, suck up their pride and deal with Irsay and whatnot if it meant getting to play with Peyton Manning. But guess what? You don't have a Peyton Manning. Richardson could be very good, but we don't know. JT is your best player, and they see you guys treating your best player like shit. So why the fuck would they want to be like, that's where I want to go? Why? Players are watching this, and they're like, yeah, no, they're shitting on JT like that. Their best player, someone who they've had for 3 going on 4 years. So why the fuck would I want to be treated like that when it's my turn to, get a second contract with them? So, yeah.
5 weeks now, pretty much. 5 weeks. If you think about, we're about a week and a half out till when he'll be back. If he stays in shape, which we hope, he hasn't played football at all. Mm-hmm. He's been on the field, hoodie on, sunglasses on. Nobody wants...
How do you know he's not in shape? I mean, just because you don't see him doing anything doesn't mean he's not in shape. I'm sure he's a professional athlete. I'm sure he's doing things to stay in shape, Pat. Maybe you as a punter didn't have to stay in shape, but guess what? The rest of the football team kind of has to, because they actually play a position that, requires like some athleticism. And don't get me wrong, I'm not punters are important, yes, but let's be real. The only things they need to work are their legs, because that's all they're asked to do, kick the ball.
Let's trade for him, unless the Colts are just not negotiating in good faith, which
They're not.
was a wild request asking for a team's number 2 wide receiver. I got cooked for that by the Dolphins. I understand.
Yeah, of course you're going to get fucking cooked for that, bro. Waddle is a 24-year-old receiver who's going to have at least 7-8 years of elite play, whereas JT is a 24-year-old running back who we may get 2-3 good years out of, and after that he's going to fall off. Maybe not fall off a cliff, but not nearly be as productive as he was when we first got him. Also, and here's a point that you probably didn't think of because you are writing Jim Irsay and Chris Ballard so damn hard and sucking them off. Here's the other thing, man. Sorry, I just I think I blacked out on my thought process. It's a lateral move, my guy. Why would we trade one of our most important players for someone like for JT? I shouldn't say someone like JT. JT's a very good player, but it's a lateral move. Yes, our running game's gonna be better when we get JT, sure. But guess what? Our passing game's gonna be worse. And our passing game is what makes us special. The reason why we're so difficult to defend, when defenses have struggled to defend us, is because we have 2 of the fastest fucking guys in Waddle and Tyreek Hill, and make it impossible for defenses to guard both, simultaneously. That's what makes us special. That's what makes Miami unique, is the inability of defenses to guard Waddle and Tyreek Hill. But if we trade Waddle, we lose that. And guess what? Teams now are free to double team Tyreek, maybe even triple team Tyreek Hill, because he knows that he's the only legitimate threat on our offense, pass catching wise. Yeah, sure, JT will help in the running game, and he might even help a little bit in the passing game, but it's a lateral move. We're not getting any better. It would be the same. We would have a little bit more balance, sure, but we wouldn't have that explosive element to scare teams. The reason why we're trying to trade picks for JT is because we want a all-pro running back that can help improve the team. Meanwhile, and I think Miami's trade offer, if they would have done it, would have been like a second round and a fourth and another player, if at max. That's pretty good value, especially for a running back. That is very good value. Also, JT was drafted in the second round, so how the hell are y'all gonna ask for a first? He was literally drafted in the second round. Why the fuck would we trade a first for him, man? Why? Who? Bruh, come on, man. Like, who? If you get drafted in the second round, playing a position where you pretty much depreciate in value the minute you get driven off the parking lot or play on the football field. Sorry, I'm just, using analogies here. Why the hell would we give you more, a higher value than what you were initially worth when you first got into the league? It's a lateral move, bro. Why are we going to do a lateral move, man? Why? It makes no sense. It's like, sure, let's make our passing game worse, but our running game better. That doesn't help us, because ultimately it'll still be the same shit. We may be able to play a more time control game, sure, but I think we could do that with the running backs we have right now. Our only problem is, or one of our main problems offensively, is that Mike McDaniel refused to run the ball. But that's another conversation for another day that I'll do another time. But in this case, it's a lateral move, bro. And yes, Jaylen Waddle, he may be a number 2 receiver on Miami, but guess what? He would be a number 1 receiver on damn near every team. Maybe Philly, Cincinnati, and if you want to talk about targets wise, Kansas City, because Kelsey would be the main guy, fine. Minnesota. I'm trying to think of other teams where Jaylen Waddle wouldn't be the best receiver on the team. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It would literally be those teams. Waddle would be the number 1. Even on the Jets, he would be the number 1 over Garrett Wilson. I'm sorry. Garrett Wilson is an incredible talent, but he's had 1 year, and Waddle's done it for 2. Yes, it's not much. I get it. But I feel like people underestimate how talented Waddle really is. Waddle put up 1,000 yards playing in one of the worst fucking offenses in last year before or like the year before we got McDaniel. Like that offense was putrid, unimaginative, and somehow he still got 1,000 yards receiving. And fast forward, the next year, he puts up nearly 1,400 yards as the number 2 receiver. He puts up 1,400 yards. Meanwhile, if Tua had played the entire season, I think at one point they were both on pace to exceed 1,600 yards, each of them. That's not number 2 receiver numbers. If anything, he is 1B to Tyreek's 1A. They're both number 1 receivers. He's just, by distinction, somebody has to be a number 2. But don't get it twisted. He's a number 1 receiver. So don't be like, it's a wild request to ask for a number 2 receiver. No, the fuck it's not, bro. No, the fuck. You know full well how talented Jaylen Waddle is. That's why you're so incredulous that, why did they refuse, getting an all-pro in JT when he's just a number 2? No, you know full well that he's a number 1 receiver. He would be a number 1 receiver on 25, 26 other teams. And I already listed all the teams that he wouldn't be a number 1. And that's only because they already have stone cold number 1s themselves. It would be the same situation that it is here with, Tyreek or, Tyreek being the number 1. More like 1A. But yeah, bro, come on. You know what? I'm gonna pull up Waddle stats for everyone to see here, and you tell me if this is number 2 receiver stats. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull this shit up. I'm gonna click on Waddle's name, and I don't understand the disrespect towards Waddle. What exactly has Waddle done where people are like, he's really not that good? Even in fantasy football, it's like, Garrett Wilson, other people should be drafted. This man put up over 1,300 yards and caught 8 touchdowns. If Garrett Wilson did that for the Jets this year, people in all of New York would be lining up to blow him. That is incredible production from someone who's second on the targets behind Tyreek. He only had 117 targets, caught 75 of them, and gained almost 1,400 yards, which would have been more, again, if Tua had been healthy for the entire year. So, yeah, that's not a number 2 receiver. That is a stone cold number 1 receiver. So, please shut the fuck up with that, he's a number 2 receiver. Also, you will get 10 years of great production from Waddle, whereas we'd only get 3 years, maybe 4 years of great production. That is not good business, bro. I don't know who the fuck would do that, but that's not good business at all, man.
You don't want to trade him. Fuck, we would like Johnathan Taylor to be on our team as well. Yeah, mm-hmm. So, like, if you're not going to give us a 1 or whatever you're thinking about doing, right, a request for your number 2 wide receiver when you're getting a number 1 running back who everybody believes should be getting $17 million a year, seemingly outside of it.
No one believes he should be getting $17 million, especially in this market. 12, 13, sure. Maybe $14 million. I mean, all things being equal, if I could pay a running back $17, $20 million, JT would be one of those running backs I would pay $17 to $20 million if there's no salary cap, whatever the case may be. But in this market, the max I'm paying for a running back is 12 to maybe $14 million. And even that $14 million would be like a 1 or 2 year thing. But I'm not paying $17 million for a running back. I'm sorry. Even someone as good as JT, I'm not paying that much money. And that's just not me. Literally everyone in the league, all the fans think so. But
Indianapolis, that is not a wild request. You sound ridiculous when you're attacking me.
No, they sound logical when they attack you because it is ridiculous. Because no one would do that. Philadelphia is not going to trade Devontae Smith for JT. I promise you that. If any called Philadelphia and said we want Devontae Smith for JT, they would hang up the phone just like Miami probably did. If Indy calls Cincinnati, be like, we want T. Higgins for Johnathan Taylor. Click. They're not doing that shit, bro. Like, it's not gonna happen. I'm sorry. And I'm listing teams that have receivers that could be number 1s on the majority of teams. Devontae Smith could be a number 1 on a majority of teams. T. Higgins could be a number 1 on a majority of teams. Cincy and Philly, respectively, Cincy and Philly would both, hang up on the Colts if they offer that bullshit. So yeah, like, It's ridiculous, and you were rightly flamed, and I'm going to continue to flame you because holy shit, is this a bad take? I'm not even barely a quarter into this fucking video, and I've lost my mind like 10 times already. I probably lost count. There's probably more times where I've lost my mind, but holy shit. Thank you, Jazz. But for real, like this is. I'm gonna just play the video, man.
You say I sound bad. Every time I read what you're saying, you sound very bad with that. But obviously that request was not granted, which, by the way, just a request, not that one.
It's a wild request, yes. No one's gonna do that. I sound like a broken record, but no one's doing that shit, man. No one's gonna trade one of their most important players for a running back, even a young running back like JT, because they know after 2-3 years, he has no value. You would trade him. You would at best get a 3rd round pick for JT once he's 27, 28. I mean, many tried to trade Dalvin Cook and could get nothing from him. And Dalvin was like 28 years old, and they had to cut him because they could get nothing for him because teams knew. Because why would we trade for Dalvin Cook? Well, we could get a Bijan Robinson or a Jahmyr Gibbs in the draft. Or we could trade for a running back that could give us, 800, 900 yards for a fraction of the cost. We have a running back in-house in Madison who could give us that for like half of or a third of what, Dalvin Cook would get, or a half of what Dalvin Cook would get. So why would they do that? It's just dumb business, bro. Everyone with a brain cell knows that, except for you. But I'm assuming you snorted all the cocaine at Irsay's house, and that's why you're having all these dumbass takes. You as red as a fucking beet, man. Like, with these dumbass takes. Like, oh my God. Just
wild. But I don't think there was much interest. So, will Johnathan Taylor... There might have been interest in the Colts. We're just saying fuck you to everybody. Maybe.
Yes, that's literally what they're doing. They're like, okay, we're gonna trade you, Johnathan Taylor, but we want an arm and a leg. That's literally them saying like, fuck you, we're not trading him. We're just trying to appease his request. Make show that we're trying to do it, but we're not actually gonna trade him. We're also not gonna pay him too. So, and oh, by the way, we're still gonna, we're gonna be able to repair that relationship, bro. If you think the general manager is gonna be able to repair the relationship, I'd be surprised if he fucking plays another game for y'all. Like, he'll probably, if he does, he'll do the bare minimum just to get his check and then get the fuck up out of there when he's able to. The problem is running backs are so screwed over with the franchise tag, because guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna franchise tag them, and then they're gonna franchise tag them again the next year because the top running backs are getting like 10, 11, 12 million dollars. So I was like, all right, cool. We'll pay you 10 million, 11 million guaranteed on a year-by-year basis, just as long as we don't have to make a insane commitment. We don't have to pay like a 3-year, $40 million, $50 million contract to you. They're fine with that. They'll do that, and that's why the CBA for running backs needs to change. Like again, that's another topic, and I'm going off a tangent, but bro, like it's just. Yeah, you sound stupid, bro. You sound stupid.
If we find that out. But seemingly not enough interest to get him to get traded. So if he has self-awareness about that, about what
he does,
is the most available to him right now, what is the move right now, what gets us past something, maybe they will be able to get back into good graces. Maybe he'll be back as an Indianapolis Colt, and maybe he'll have 200 yards in the first game and all.
He won't, because he needs to get back in football shape. If he gets more than 15 carries, that's negligence on the Colts' part, because he needs to ramp himself up to get back into football shape. You'd be dumb to run him, however many times it would take to get 200 yards. Again, we're just being hypothetical here. Like, it'd be incredibly stupid to do something like that. Like, you'd probably get like 10, maybe 15 carries at most. And even that would be a bit much. So, nah. And also, that's assuming he'd want to play for you guys after the bullshit y'all have pulled throughout this entire offseason, disrespecting him. You basically were so negative towards him. Like, JT's probably watching this. He's probably like, wow, if Pat McAfee is saying this about me, and he's pretty much shilling for the Colts, well, he doesn't have to wonder, because I'm sure Jim Irsay has probably said this to JT's face. I don't value you, but I'm not going to trade. I'm going to try and trade you. But don't be surprised if we don't get back. If you don't, you're still with us, because teams didn't want to match our offer. It's like, they don't value him. They don't care about him. They want him to perform on the cheap. That's all they want. That is all they want. They want to continuously play him for under market value. That is all they want, and they want him to shut up about it and deal with it. And that's essentially what Pat is saying to JT. Shut up, deal with it, run for us, dance for us, puppet. Get us our 1,000 yards, and then when you're 27-28, we're done with you. We're not going to pay you because you already use up your best years. That is what the Colts want, and that is what essentially what Pat is telling JT to do. JT, if you're watching this, bro, I hope you're able to get out of Indianapolis. I don't even care if you come to Miami. We would love you here in Miami. We would love you to, be able to play with Tua, be able to play with a team that actually respects you, would actually play you, it would actually be upfront with you. But hey, man, I'm not the GM. I don't make those decisions. And obviously, if I were the GM and I talked to the Colts, they would probably be like, hey, man, you need to trade an arm and a leg. And I just can't do that, man. But with that being said, I hope you're able to get out of Indy. I hope you're able to go to a team that can actually appreciate you and your talents and, pay you accordingly. Maybe pay you above market value. I hope that happens. But it just sucks for running backs, man.
All the Indianapolis Colts fans will completely forget about this entire fuckery of a thing. With that being said, I think he's going to have to fire that agent if that is the case. If he doesn't understand what the situation is, he should think about that entire. And we start looking through the roster of who.
I'm pretty sure he knows this, but agents do what the players want them to do. This isn't an agent unilaterally just being like, oh, yeah, sure, I'm going to just do this for JT, and he's just, going to have to deal with the consequences. No. This is by JT's direction. The agent can only do what JT wants him to do. That is the whole point of an agent, is to do what the player wants them to do. JT wanted this. He wanted to be paid, and then when the Colts didn't want to pay him, he's like, fuck it, trade me. Let me go to a team that will actually use me and, well, not use me, but you know what I mean. Pay me and use me accordingly. That's it. That's all he wanted. That was not an insane request to make. Also, what was insane of a request is asking for Waddle, which, no, bro, you're not getting Waddle. Sorry, this is just not going to happen.
This agent reps. And although he is an accomplished mixed martial artist agent and professional wrestling agent,
Yep.
and he does have NFL players.
Absolutely.
Other than Shaq Leonard, the artist formerly known as Darius Leonard of the Indianapolis Colts, he's not really an NFL agent. He has people, but it's not like Johnathan Taylor was in MVP discussions two years ago. So you're putting a lot of faith in somebody who might be the greatest agent of all time in the NFL.
I'm pretty sure Jalen Hurts had like a first-time agent negotiate his contract. Granted, he is a quarterback and he had an amazing year. I'm pretty sure even I could have negotiated his contract and gotten him, the same, essentially close to what he got. But still, just because someone's relatively new as an NFL agent does not make them like less skilled or whatever. Like now you're disrespecting first you disrespected the man, now you're disrespecting his agent. Like I swear, if JT's watching this, you're probably like, I don't want to stay here anymore. Like he probably doesn't already want to stay in Indy, but Pat is just reinforcing that fact. Like if he thinks this is gonna win JT over and JT's gonna be like, you know what, he's right, I need to make up. No, that's not gonna happen. If it does happen, it's probably because JT's a good guy and it's just like, look, I wanted something, I didn't get it. Fuck it, I'll make the best of this situation and I'll move on. But like, bro, like this is ridiculous, man. Like I feel so bad for JT. Like I said, I would want him on Miami, but that's not gonna happen. It probably won't happen until October when the Colts realize, hey, maybe we should have traded JT in the offseason and actually gotten some legitimate value for him. But
NFL when it's all said and done. I have no idea. We don't know what's going to happen in the future with this guy, but he's putting a lot of faith into somebody who hasn't had that much success in the NFL, in the way the NFL does business, and then with the situation. So I think it's good that they said it's repairable, but there's going to have to be some things that take place, and if they do, I think we're right back on track. Johnathan Taylor's in the backfield with Anthony Richardson, and all of a sudden our Super Bowl odds are going to change immensely because...
Yeah, sure, okay. Yeah, bro, you guys will be lucky to win 6-7 games, and that's even with JT playing. Like, if JT was playing the entire season, y'all would be lucky to win 6-7 games. And that's nothing to do with his talent. It's just your guys' receiving core is whatever. Like, your defense was mid. You pretty much, Richardson's a rookie. It's going to take him time to acclimate. Richardson could accelerate y'all's development to, a playoff team. That could happen. But Richardson's also someone who's only played, 13 games in college and was essentially thought of as like a raw prospect coming into the NFL. So it's going to take him time to get to that point and level. So you guys this year will probably win at best 6-7 games. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna sit here and be like I know everything about the Colts. I don't. I haven't looked at the team nearly into that much depth. But no, I don't think you guys are gonna be very good. Period. Like, there's nothing about the Colts I'm like, oh shit. Like, yeah, they're the team we gotta watch out for. So it's funny that he has this optimism after he just spent the past 5 minutes trashing JT, his agent, Miami, for rejecting a wild request that the Colts made. Basically, essentially taking the side of the Colts over the player, which is not something he usually does. But, he's a businessman now. That ESPN money got him acting a little different. He's rubbing shoulders with some of the best people. I mean, he was in College Game Day or whatever? I don't know what it's called. Sitting up there and doing the whole analysis stuff. So yeah, he's big time now. So, and I worry that he's starting to lose the perspective that made him unique, that made him refreshing. He wasn't an ESPN person. He was, a player that understood, that was able to communicate, in a funny way, like the workings of the NFL. But I think he's starting to lose that, he's starting to lose that trait. He's starting to become more and more of a businessman. And again, it happens. I mean, he's retired. He's been retired for a while. So he's not in tune with what goes on in the NFL now than as he was like a few years ago. So this, it happens. But I think this is a sign that, because he very rarely, if ever, has done. I think this is the first time I've actually seen him go this hard defending a organization over a player, because normally he'd be all about the players. But yeah, I mean, I'm cool that he has his optimism. I'm never gonna kill a fan's optimism, but even though I just literally said the Colts are gonna win 6-7 games, but even with that, like, hey man, if you're optimistic, you're optimistic, but you just shitted on your best player for like a good 5 minutes already, and there's still 7 minutes left in the video.
Because there's two horses taking over. Sorry, those two Colts.
Amen.
Actual ponies. Mm-hmm. When they come stampeding into your yard, they're all over the place. That's what I think could happen now with what I heard yesterday, although he was a bit saucy with his answers, Pac-Man Jones.
But I do think this is repairable. But if he loves football, he'll be back and playing after 4 weeks. Now, like, you got to understand, all right, I could push it to the limit and try to get paid, but at the end of the day, if it's not going to happen, I need to play this year in order to get paid next year.
And I do agree with Pac-Man on that. He does need to play. He does need to, put good tape out there for other teams to be like, okay, he still got it. He's still very young. We need to make a trade for him. He does, and he probably will. Most likely, he will probably play, but it won't be the same. It won't be the same level of, like, happiness that he had the previous, couple of years, where he was just a young kid playing for the team that drafted him. It won't be the same. It'll be business, essentially. Like, he'll put out good tape. He's a professional athlete. Even is arguably his worst year, he still put up almost 1,000 scrimmage yards in 11 games. So if he even performs at that level, he's still gonna get paid. Teams full well knowing that he's just disgruntled, not that he's lost any talent. And yeah, I do agree with Pac-Man. He does need to play and, put tape out there so he can get a bag next year. It's just a matter of whether he's going to give that 100% effort. I hope for his sake that he's able to, and only so that he can get out of Indianapolis and go to a team that values him. But it's just a shit situation, man.
So I think it's repairable. I don't think he's gonna leave the Colts. I told you that earlier. Like, I don't think he's going nowhere. He's either gonna play or he gonna sit out the whole year. I don't think that.
And yeah, that is the thing. He might do that. Like, I think he'll still get paid this year. If he sits out the whole year, he'll probably do some, oh, my, esophagus is strained or some bullshit like that. Just to, be like, I can't play. Like, yeah, I'm here, I'm available, but, I've had some issues that preventing me from playing to my potential. Probably do some shit like that. I could see that. I could just see him just sitting out the entire year. But that'd be another Le'Veon Bell situation, and that didn't work out quite well for Le'Veon. And I don't think JT wants to do something like that.
They're trading him. No way this year.
So the interesting thing about that was we asked Rappaport and Schefter about the interest in Johnathan Taylor, because if you think about the timing in the NFL calendar, and we say this on a regular basis, but it's just like the facts, and it turns out to be exactly how it happened almost. But in the calendar year that it happened, with training camp and everything taking place, like, it was a bad business move. Like, I think it was not a good business move to do this.
Brutal.
OTAs do it.
Sure.
People got money still. People still have things going on. I think he missed the window, but then whenever he took his shot, it's like, all right, if he ends up getting paid, this is a good shot.
They're worth it.
Okay, and again, like, I think I mentioned this before, but this is the one thing I do agree with Pat, that he probably should have just done this earlier if he wanted to be paid or whatever. He probably should have done this earlier when teams actually had the wherewithal to do it. Because doing it now, there's very few teams that would probably have the cap space to accommodate JT. And I know some teams keep that cap space to like roll over for next year to take care of the dead money stuff that they'll have. But even so, there would have been far more teams willing to trade for JT in like March, April, as opposed to, June, July. So in that case, yeah, he's right. He probably should have done this earlier. But that doesn't change the fact that he was not wrong to do it. He still did it, and he was right to do it because he sees where the running back market is going, and that he needs to get paid now before his body invariably breaks down.
It's a results-oriented business here. It ends up not working out. Like, I think this was a bad move. Yeah. But Rappaport, Schefter, basically every media outlet were telling him, no, it's a good move. A lot of interest.
They was wrong.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It was only wrong because the Colts would not truly negotiate in good faith. Every other organization would have been like, all right, let's cut our losses. He clearly doesn't want to be here. Let's get rid of him. Let's try to recoup some value. Let's just move on, build a new future with Richardson and whatever draft picks we get. Not the Colts, man. Not the Colts. They want to shit on JT and try to keep him and get his production out of him. So now you just have a pissed off running back who they think, oh yeah, he's pissed off, so he's going to run angry and, do very well. It's like, no, that's not how that works, man. He'll be pissed off and probably just, give enough effort to show teams that, okay, he's got the talent. That's what's going to happen. But he's not going to run to glory, because he wants to prove to you guys anything. He's already proven it in that 1 year where he had like over 2,000 yards scrimmage, or 2,000 scrimmage yards. So he's already proven that he can play in this league and that he can be very, very successful in this league. So,
like, I don't know how this was all so misconjectured.
Misconstrued.
There it is. There's the fucking word right there. Can't wait for that to be on ESPN. But like, I don't know how it was. Like, how do we get so many different things? Unless it was one person telling all those insiders and all those newsmakers.
The agent.
No, is that what you're saying?
No, it make a lot of sense.
Oh my God! Now they're blaming JT and his agent for being like, yeah, there's interest in JT. Blah 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 blah. It's like, you know what? Maybe there's some credence to it. I don't know. But my God, bro. Like, so what? Yeah, he's putting pressure on the Colts. Be like, there's interest in teams. Trade me already. Because he wants to get out of there. Because y'all ain't going to pay him. So, yeah, I'm sure he did some, he tried to put the pressure on the Colts. And they're probably like, there's really no offers. It's like, no, I'm sure there were teams that are interested. But they know who they're dealing with. They're dealing with a coke-addled owner in Irsay who probably isn't even in this world right now whenever he deals with people, who's willing to spend $20 million to transport a whale instead of pay his best player. Now, granted, It's cool that he, tried to save this whale's life, and I'm not knocking him for doing so. But if you're willing to go out of your way to pay $20 million, by the way, the whale died. Sorry to spoil that for those who were interested in knowing the whale's fate. But yeah, he was going to spend $20 million to transport that whale, but you couldn't spend $20 million to make sure your star player was on your team and happy. If you would have given $20 million guaranteed to JT over 2 years, he would be in your training camp ready to go. That ankle injury would have surprisingly healed up very quickly. Man would have been fucking Wolverine with how quickly that ankle would have healed. But oh no, that's too much. He's a running back. We can't pay running backs. Also, we only won 4 fucking games, so why are we going to pay him? Like, it's just flawed ass logic, man.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Unless it's just the Colts weren't negotiating in good faith.
They weren't, but again, I've said this like 1,000 times in this particular stream, so.
Or what we were being told is not an accurate thing, even though sometimes that's how the game goes.
Well, and the good faith thing that makes no sense. Like, we're talking about Chris Ballard, who's arguably one of the better drafters in the entire NFL.
There's a difference between being a great drafter and being a great negotiator. You can be a great drafter, but be a horrible negotiator. Ask the Dallas Cowboys. I think Tex Schramm or whatever was a great, talent evaluator of talent. There's a reason why, in the 60s and 70s, Tom Landry was able to field teams that would go consistently deep into the playoffs and, compete for titles and Super Bowls. There's a reason for that. But those players were notorious for being very underpaid. Like, Bob Lilly was their best player, and he was horribly underpaid for the production he was giving them. Bob Lilly is one of the greatest defensive tackles of all time and got paid peanuts for what he produced for the Cowboys. And that's because Tex Schramm would basically tell, whenever he negotiated with each player, he'd be like, all right, we signed this contract. Make sure you don't talk to anyone about, what you signed for. Keep it on the down low. And it wasn't just Tex Schramm. A lot of owners / GMs did this with their players on the teams back then. That is how the owners back then were able to keep the salaries of the players so low, because they try to prevent the players from talking to one another. But still, that just goes to show you that Tex Schramm was a great evaluator of talent, but was a horrible negotiator. He did not negotiate in good faith, and that is essentially what Chris Ballard is doing. I'm sure Chris Ballard is great at evaluating talent, but at the same time, he is definitely not the best negotiator. Because if you want to appease your running back, this is not the fucking way to do it. Like, if you want to make sure JT eventually comes back and is happy, yeah, you probably want to do better than this. So, yeah, no, I do think they were not negotiating in good faith.
When it comes to being a GM, so if it was, okay, you're going to get 4 picks like the McAfee deal where they brought up, he got...
Now, there will be people that will say to you, we had the number 4 overall pick. So
absolutely, yeah, but that, that has a lot to do with the performance, which you can also then just go right back to the fact that, so why would he not want to trade somebody for all 4 of those picks if they had the 4th overall pick, because they were that bad? My favorite part is Chris Ballard having to explain to people that when you're not good at your job, you don't get paid and things happen.
Thank you for saying that.
That's tip.
Yeah, but here's the thing. There are plenty of teams that pay players a lot of money, even though those teams fucking suck. Like, Arizona paid, I think they paid, what's his face? DeAndre Hopkins a shit ton of money, even though they were no good those years. Like, they traded for him and they paid him, I think. I'm not 100% sure. Even with that being the case, there are plenty of teams that pay a lot of money to players. There are plenty of horrible teams that pay a lot of money because someone has to get paid. Someone has to get paid. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure I could probably pull up. Let's see who. You know what? I'm even gonna look up probably one of the worst teams. Let's see. Oh, not preseason. Let's see here. Oh, Arizona was the worst. Let's use the Rams as an example. Because guess what? They were 5-12. They're one of the worst teams. But guess what? Are you going to tell Aaron Donald that he's not worth whatever his contract is? Let me see what his contract is. Yeah, 6 years, $135 million. The Rams won 5 games last year. You think they're gonna tell Aaron Donald, hey man, we only won 5 games, so you need to take a pay cut because we sucked? No, they're like, that's a generational ass talent. They're not gonna tell him shit. They'll be like, nah man, you keep your money because we know what you've done for us. They're an organization that realizes, yes, even though we may suck, we have to pay Aaron Donald top-notch money because that's, he's the best at what he does. That's how that works. Also, the best part about all this is the fact that his peons, his people, pretty much have to take a side, even though they themselves, I'm pretty sure none of them agree with him, but because he cuts their checks, they pretty much have to be like, yeah, man, like this is bullshit. The Colts were, the Colts were operating in good faith. It was just teams that were stoking, or it was just agents and media that were stoking this interest and trying to make the Colts trade. No, I'm sure GMs inquired about Johnathan Taylor. The Colts told them what the asking price was, and they're like, absolutely not, because y'all are fucking crazy, because we're not trading a first rounder or one of our better players for someone like JT. Period. As even with how good JT is, we're not doing it.
Typically how the world works, and I know everyone should have a job and everyone should be able to play in the NFL, but that's just not a reality. And you mentioned the timing aspect of it. I think that's what it comes down to. Like, let's say the Eagles, like if DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny both get hurt in the first 6 weeks of the season, I assume that they're going to say, okay, we'll back up and give them a first round pick for.
No, they won't. They'll do everything in their power to trade everything but the first round. They'll give up a second. Hell, they might even give up a third and a fourth, but they are not giving a first for JT, period. If Christian McAfee wasn't able to pull a first, and this is a running back that's produced for 4 or 5 years before he got traded, JT's not going to pull y'all a first, period.
Johnathan Taylor, because if we get him, we probably will go on and win the Super Bowl.
I don't know, Shane Steichen over here, good relationship with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I legitimately wonder if they would be like, do we want?
True.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Is this what?
Yeah.
Because this is now, and there has been plenty of occasions where teams have said, especially in modern history here, like last 5-10 years, where teams go, just because he didn't get along with that crew doesn't mean he won't get along with us over here. Right. And I think that could be said even about us.
Guess what? A lot of teams probably feel like that because they see what the fuck is going on here. They're probably like, yeah, if we just treat him even 10% better than what the Colts did, he'll be happy. Obviously, they'll do better than that, the team that gets him. But the way the Colts have treated JT over these past couple months, they basically shown JT, this is what we think of you. This is what your value is to us. Like, we don't think you're worth money, the money that you want, but we also want top-notch value in return for you, even though we ourselves don't value nearly as much as you think you value yourself.
Us with companies.
Sure,
So
yeah.
we do appreciate that, but I do wonder how teams will take into account this whole thing happening, the way it happened, when it happened, if that'll affect any future businesses, and if anybody gave a shit.
Yeah, it will, and people will give a shit. Like I said before, future free agents are going to look at the situation and be like, why the fuck would I want to go to Indy? Considering how they treat their best players, homegrown talent like JT. Like, if they treated their homegrown star players like that, what the fuck are they going to treat us like, man? Yeah, they're not going to want to come to Indy. Indy will be hard-pressed to get good free agents. The only way they'll get good free agents is if Richardson blows the fuck up and, is like one of the more exciting talents. And, that is the only reason teams will want to sign in Indy. Because it's not for the city itself, and it's not because of the way they treat their players. I can guarantee y'all that. It'll be because Richardson is phenomenal.
Shit at all.
I don't know if that'll affect future business because it
will. And again, it is funny that, even someone like Pac-Man, who's known for, being able to think for himself, is siding with Pat. But again, Pat cuts his check. He's not going to argue, and he's one of the newer members, so he's definitely not going to go against Pat. But, bruh, to see Pat doubling down on this dumbass take and essentially making his employees take his side because he doesn't want to feel like he's the only person in the world that has this dumbass take other than, him, Irsay, and Ballard. Like, it's sad, bro. Like, this, I did not expect this from Pat. Like, I thought about not making a video about this because I didn't expect Pat to be this type of person when it came to, like, someone like JT, someone that he's watched play for the past 2-3 years. But
the coaches that were here, I don't think him not showing up, not being here now will affect him from going somewhere else.
Yeah, I got you. They might just like they say like Johnathan Taylor just didn't want to be there. So
Yeah.
this is what he had. This was a play. This was a play that he had to make business wise. He's not going to do that here because he's going to want to be here.
Right.
I respect that.
But
I respect
in the locker room, like, are you guys used to this? Like, he gets paid, he comes back in the locker room, nothing. Don't even worry
that.
about.
Yeah, nobody gives a
Oh
fuck.
yeah.
Yeah.
As long as he come back, shit, we have.
Yeah, if he got his money.
oh, yeah, I'm sure that's the case. Yeah, I'm sure his teammates, because it has nothing to do with his teammates. It's just between him and the organization. I'm sure his teammates would be like, yeah, man, I'm glad you got paid. Now let's do this shit. Like, the only thing the teammates care about is that he's here, that he's ready to go, and that they're really ready to kill it this season. And they are right about that. That's, the main thing that they're going to care about. And I would have to, defer to Pat and Pack because they've actually played in the NFL and they've been in locker rooms, so they know what that's like.
He comes back, good. Cool. If he doesn't get his money, comes back, there's going to be a couple. First day. First day. There's going to be a lot of that. And practice, but it's a whole new culture, too. Like,
Yeah.
That's the thing that is really, like last year, Gus Bradley comes in, D coordinator. Okay, Darius Leonard, the year before, like by far best player we had on defense. He gets hurt. So he misses like the first whatever of Gus Bradley's regime with the defense. So it's almost like Darius is watching, Shaq is watching a defense get created that he used to lead, but he's not a part of. And then whenever he came back, it was a tough thing because where in the hierarchy are you in the coach's eyes? Where's the plays? How are they going? And I'm not saying that when Shaq Leonard came back, he's not the guy, but he was even talking like,
He said as much.
yeah, he said, I'm not the guy. Here's the guy in this defense. This is a new defense and everything like that. And I would assume that Johnathan Taylor's confidence is going to be unrattleable. But with this offense kind of developing right now, right in front of his eyes with him holding out, and they're going to, if it's obviously going to go at least 4 weeks into the season, if there's success in that thing, and then you drop him in, and then Shane Steichen's like, hey, this is just the role you need to play here, right? And this offense is now built around Anthony Richardson as opposed to being built around Johnathan Taylor. And
They were going to do that anyway, regardless of whether or not they pay JT or what they're doing now. They're going to build that offense around Anthony Richardson because he's the franchise. He's the future. They were going to do that. And yeah, I'm sure there would have been an adjustment period for JT. But guess what? Because you guys shitted on him and decided to, make him feel like complete, what's the word I'm looking for? Like he's not valued at all. It's going to suck. It's going to suck for him. He's going to play. He's going to do enough to get paid by some other team, but don't think that he's going to do this because he's forgiven the Colts or anything like that.
in the run game and in the backfield, that's a whole nother interesting.
Also, he plays running back. It's the easiest position to just acclimate into a system. They have to understand, the blocking scheme. They have to understand, pass protection. Sure. With that being said, it's still the easiest position because your main job is to get the ball and run to what you see. I'm not an NFL player, and I will never, accuse or never say I will be or that I could do what NFL players do because I can't. But running back is by far the easiest position to acclimate. The minute JT comes back, they're going to give him his touches, and it's on him to be able to figure out how to, get those yardage, which he is incredibly talented. He would fit in any system. So it's not a jealousy thing. It's not, he doesn't feel valued.
Human element here that could come into play that we just assume will get settled if they figure out a money or a reality situation that pops into Johnathan.
Yeah, the reality is, running backs don't have value. He wants value, and the Colts won't give him the value that he's seeking, and they won't even trade him to let him seek his value somewhere else. It's a power play by Irsay and Ballard. That's all this is. They were never going to trade him. they wanted to give the illusion to JT that they were actually going to trade him, but they were never going to trade him. And I don't buy that premise that teams, I'm sure they inquired. I don't think they necessarily made an offer, but I do think they inquired. And I'm pretty sure the Colts are like, nah, we want Waddle in the first, or Waddle and something else, which is a non-starter. Like, I'm sorry, you're not getting one of our better players for a running back that we're only going to get 2-3 years out of. That's just not going to happen.
Taylor.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like, he's gonna have to make concessions. Like that's basically what it comes down to. Like, hey, we gave you your opportunity.
He made concessions by being a fucking running back. That's his concession right there. He plays a position that's not going to get paid. That's his concession. He's already making the concession by playing that particular position. No, the Colts need to, do right by him and pay him what he's worth. Because there's really nothing else other than Richardson to get excited about when it comes to this team. And also, like, you guys have the money to pay him anyway. Like, oh no, your money won't roll into next year to take care of dead cap situation. But guess what? You have a happy running back, and you can always trade other players to, to make it work, to make the salary cap work for you next year. So no, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that mess, man.
Here, like, no one gave us fair trade compensation that we were okay with getting rid of you. Like,
Unless that's not real.
Unless that's not real. And I guess it is possible that, he comes off PUP and has...
The fact that they're saying this shit full well knowing that they don't believe any of this crap. Like, they all, like, look at the fucker in the back. Like, he doesn't buy this shit. Even this dude. Like, the fact that these two are saying this, and I can even tell by their eyes that they don't believe any of this shit. They're just saying it because Pat cuts their check, and they don't want to antagonize their boss. And that's a sad state to be in, because I'm pretty sure Pat's show got very successful because, these guys could say what they wanted to say and, have a more open discussion. But I'm sure Pat finally pulled rank on this particular situation. I was like, no, I'm going to say something. You guys are going to fucking agree with me because I cut your fucking checks.
As a good game or whatever, and then still gets traded before October 31st or whenever the trade deadline is. But, like, if he's going to play for the Colts this year, like, he has to make concessions. He has to change something. He can't keep doing what he's doing. Like, it's already been proven. Like, hey, guess what? Like, there's a line was drawn in the sand. You didn't get what you wanted, but we're not just going to crumble now because everything kind of went to shit.
What if he comes back with a press conference too, and he just completely lays it out? Yeah, really misread the whole situation.
Yeah.
He won't do that because it's a pride thing. Just like Irsay has his pride, JT has his pride. He's probably going to come back and be like, yeah, I wanted to get traded. I didn't get traded. I'm here now. Whatever. But he's not going to be like, yeah, I misread the situation. No. He read the situation just like any other sane person would have read the situation. If I was in a situation, I probably would have done the same exact thing. Maybe I would have done it earlier, but, when he did it doesn't change the fact that he needed to do it. The Colts are the ones that need a reality check. They need to know you're not getting a first. You're not getting a Waddle. Green Bay's offer A.J. Dillon they wanted A.J. Dillon in a second. Even that's like unfair, bro. Like, A.J. Dillon's one of their better players, and he's I think Green Bay's future running back essentially once Aaron Jones, because Aaron Jones is a little on the older side, and Dillon's I think is still on his rookie contract or nearing the end of it. I don't know, but no, what they asked from both Miami and Green Bay, you're not gonna get. Like, any person with like a brain cell knows that.
Took my shot.
Hey, had to do it. I apologize. It's just one of those things. I thought it was going to go well. It did not. Here we are. Excited to be back.
Yeah, it ain't personal. It's just...
With how much dick sucking and writing Pat has done, does he have an OnlyFans? Does this man have an OnlyFans? I need to know if he has an OnlyFans or if he's been in the adult industry, because my God, bro, this dude is writing harder than some of the best porn stars, man. This is incredible. Like, he spent, not only did he make another video, he doubled down for 12 whole minutes talking about the situation. Like, come on, bro. Like, you could have just let it go. You could have been like, yeah, I got flamed by, so I'm not going to be talking about JT. Like, nah, man, I'm just, granted, he has to talk about it because he's a football person, and that's still something to talk about because I think this happened a couple days after Johnathan Taylor's trade request was the trade schedule was finished up by the Colts. So yeah, I get it. He had it, but you could have just been bro, I said what I said about JT. It sucks that he wanted to leave, but it is what it is. No, he just has to double down and defend Irsay and Ballard because he used to play for the Colts, and they treated him well. And I get it, you don't want to see your homeboys get roasted and vilified, but guess what? Jim Irsay does that to himself. That's not Jim Irsay is like that drunk idiot that just does and says stupid shit, and you as the friend have to get him out of those particular situations. That's literally what Jim Irsay is. But my God, Pat, you could not have how much did they pay you, bro? How much did they pay you to have this fucking take? Did Jim Irsay be look, man, I'll give you a position, I'll give you money forever if you defend me on this particular take? Because there's no way any person with a brain cell would defend what the Colts were asking for JT. If you don't believe me, here, I'll after this video, I'll scroll down the comments. Y'all could see for yourself, what they were thinking about it. Because I guarantee you, the majority, if not all of them, are gonna be, oh man, look at Pat just saying all this shit. Look at Pat being a moron, blah blah blah.
Just business, excited to be back.
Yeah, excited to be back. Let's move along. I'm thinking PR-wise now how this thing works because that's a whole nother animal.
Yeah, I know you're thinking PR-wise. You literally spent the past 12 minutes playing PR rep for the Colts. Yeah, I know you're thinking PR-wise because that's all this is. Shit, bro, you need to take over you need to apply to be a White House press secretary, man, with the PR shilling that you're doing. Holy shit, man. You're not very good at it, but it is entertaining.
Because the noise always comes from the outside, but once that noise creeps in, which it does everywhere pretty much, that can start dividing everything. And it's what will be said about Johnathan Taylor when he comes back in the Colts? And, behind the sources are saying, all the anonymous shit that could potentially... I just hope they figure it out.
They won't. They won't. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of the video. Sorry this took so long. Sorry I was ranting for the majority of the 1 hour 20 minutes. It's just this entire situation is so fucking wild to me. I'm not even mad that he I shouldn't say I'm not mad. I am perturbed that he decided to shit on Waddle. But bro, the Colts were so off on this. Pat was so off on this that he literally got flamed. He chose to get flamed twice for whatever reason. The first video he made earlier this past week, and then this video that I just saw with you guys and commented on. He decided to get flamed twice for God knows what reason. I would not have made this video if I were Pat. I would have been you know what? I had a bad take. I got roasted for it. Look at it. You know what? Look at the comments. I'll even read them out if you guys can't see it. Crazy how Pat is real with every team except the Colts. I think comparing what Pat is saying about this to how he's about a Lamar who had a mediocre injury-ridden season is pretty telling of his Colts bias. Yes, literally. The way the Colts have been acting exactly how to scare good free agents away. Good for them, all self-inflicted. I could go on and on. Pat will be perfect fit for ESPN. Feel strong, Kendrick Perkins vibes. Waddle was the 6th overall pick too and has lived up to it. JT's running back on to his 4th season versus a third-year receiver who has yet to hit his peak. I love Pat, but he is straight tripping. Doesn't matter that he's a team's too. He's a top 15 receiver in the league easy. Yeah, literally. That's it. It's perfect. What else is there to say? That's a lot of pressure put on him. It's not his fault. His team didn't put up wins last year. He's been one of the most... Yeah, he was one of the few guys that was legit productive. Sorry. Simply saying Waddle is your second receiver and that shouldn't be a wild request is insane. Waddle is a number one receiver caliber guy, incredibly talented, that will have a much longer career than JT. You can't simply look at the depth chart position, look at value. Is Devontae Smith... All of the points I made these past, 1 hour and 20 minutes are basically what are being stated here in the comments. And I swear I didn't even look at the comments beforehand. Like, these are all my own thoughts, coming from my... Again, I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. I love the Dolphins, but like, him shitting on Waddle was probably one of the main impetus to make this video, because it got me interested at first. Like, why are you talking so much shit about Waddle? Then I watched the first video. I was like, bruh, really? This is how you want to approach this? You really want to shill for the Colts? You really want to shill for someone like Jim Irsay, who's a piece of shit? Like, that's I mean, it's because he's your boy, because he probably hooks you up with like the finest of cocaines. Like, he probably sources that shit straight from Colombia itself. Like come on, bro. So yeah, as you can tell, this is a horrible ass take by Pat, and the fact that he doubled down on it was hilarious, and I had to make a video on it. With that being said, this is the end of the video for me. I will make another video talking about what needs to happen this year for Miami to have success. And this is gonna be like a whole season approach, like certain things they can do that they didn't do last year, in order for us to reach that point, things that we need to keep doing. And then I'm gonna make another video previewing the first game against the Chargers, what Miami needs to do specifically for that. And again, I'm just a fan. I'm not some deep NFL analyst. Like, this is from a fan's perspective. This is from someone who just watches the games, and this is what I observe. So it's not going to be like super detailed, like, oh yeah, this route that he was running, he needed to do an in cut instead of like breaking out. Like, I'm not doing all of that shit. Like, basically what I'm going to be like is like, oh yeah, we only ran the ball 15-20 times in a game where we needed to burn the ball 30, stuff like that. But so I'm going to have a pregame video probably on Friday or Saturday, talking about the Chargers game. And then once the game happens, I'm probably gonna have a post game analysis of the game itself, either Sunday night or Monday morning. Probably, or not Monday morning, sorry, Monday night, because I have work. But I'll probably end up doing it Monday most likely, but we'll see. With that being said, that's all I got to say on this particular situation. I hope never to talk about it again, because my head hurts. I have a headache because of how stupid Pat McAfee is. He needs to lay off the cocaine. He needs to hop off of Irsay's dick, and actually remember that he used to be a player, and that players, especially running backs, need to get their money as soon as they're able to. When he realizes that again, I think he'll be fine. But this is a horrible path that he's going down, and I hope for his sake that he wakes the fuck up and just realizes he was a dumbass this one time. With that being said, I'm out, guys. I'll see y'all next time. Hopefully I can be more consistent with making these videos. But take care, everyone. Bye.